What's good, everybody? YCS Bologna just wrapped up yesterday, and there are a lot of cards that are hot right now because they put on a great showing, especially up in the top tiers of the game, in the top 64 and throughout the entire tournament. So I want to have a video featuring those cards, making sure you know that they're hot, that people are looking for them, that you should have them in your trade binders, or be aware that people are going to be playing them at your next tournament, because there are new trends shifting in the meta that you should know about. Number one is going to be the star of the show, the highlight of everyone, the things everyone's talking about, Lacrima, the Crimson Tears. This is the Fiendsmith normal summon to level 4. Essentially, this card is shining in hand trap formats because it has an effect on summon, and then it turns into Requiem, which then you have to deal with another hand trap, and then if this and Requiem are in the grave, that's another interruption on top of that on your opponent's turn. So this card just super thrives, trades into hand traps super well, and all of the big name players played this card at 2 or 3, including the winner of the event played 2 of this. Then we had Pack, we had Joshua Schmidt, we had Dinkabui, we had Nico Schlierkamp, the winner of, came in first after Swiss, and then all the team rated trade guys, and then a few other people I'm guessing were onto this card as well, being at the top of the meta. So make sure you know Lacrima is sought out now. It used to be just a one-of splashed into any deck playing Fiendsmith, and Fiendsmith had kind of fallen off a little bit. Now it's back in full swing. People want to play this card, people want to pick up this card, so make sure that you know that this card has value. While we're on the same topic of that deck that all those guys were playing, we're going to go through a couple other cards that were featured in that deck that are now super hot. First one is Dominus Purge. This card was like a $6 secret rare because none of the decks played it, none of the fire decks played it, none of the water decks played it, but now this Kashtira Fiendsmith deck showing up in force can play Dominus Purge because they just use light, earth, and wind effects based on their hand trap lineup, based on the Kashtira monsters and all the Fiendsmith monsters. This is one of the best hand traps if you can play it, if your attributes line up. And now this card is a $35 secret rare. It went up like 5 times in price, 5x in price over the last 3 days. Make sure you have this card in your binder if you don't want to play it yourself. Make sure you pick this up if you want to play the Fiendsmith Kashtira deck, and pick it up early because this card's not getting reprinted for another year, at least probably next year's Megatons. So if you need it, gotta get it now while the getting's good. Yeah, definitely gonna be a star of the show. Along those lines, we have Fiendsmith in Paradise. Don't worry, this one is not expensive to pick up. It's just a super rare out of Infinite Forbidden, I believe. But yeah, this card is going to be sought after. People are going to be wanting this card because all of the decks that feature Lacrima depend on Fiendsmith in Paradise in the main deck. So definitely going to want to pick up one of these cards. Like I said, just a super. It's at most $1. Don't really have to worry too much about it. But if you have extras, go ahead and pull it out of your bulk, put it in your binder because people are going to be looking for it. The next card also in that deck is going to be Solemn Strike. People were playing this in the side decks. If you have any cool versions of Solemn Strike, go ahead and check that out. Put it in your binder or dig them out or whatever you want to do. And then on to the extra deck for that particular deck. Fiendsmith's Requiem. This is not a surprise card, but everyone was playing 2 of the Fiendsmith Requiem, which means, you know, typically it's been a one-of in every other Fiendsmith deck. Now all of a sudden people want 2 of it. It's going to spike. People are going to there's going to be a lot of demand for this card. So if you have extras, it used to be only like $4. I don't know what it is now, but it's probably more. It's probably getting bought up. So make sure you pull this card out of your bulk or out of your, hollow bulk if you had it there, and chuck it in your trade binder because people are going to be looking. Now we have 2 more cards still out of this deck. Like, this deck was so cool and innovative in my opinion that there are so many cards now that people weren't playing before, weren't noticing before, that they're going to want. So the first one is going to be Constellar Ptolemy M7. This is a rank 6. It can detach to add a monster back from the graveyard to the hand. And essentially this is an alternate option to go into instead of the DDD Wave Hiking Caesar, which is not always the ideal play. Sometimes you want to go for this, go for a Zeus, and add a hand trap back to your hand along the way to give yourself essentially 2 separate interruptions instead of just playing into an imperm on the DDD, which could be game ending. So that's the point of this. And then on top of that, we have Gaia Dragon, the Thunder Charger. You need to overlay on top of the M7. So I don't know who's playing this card, who has this card, but you need this card now, and it's probably in your bulk as well. So go dig it out. Make sure you have this one. Okay, beyond that particular deck that featured all those cool Fiendsmith cards, we have a few other decks that ended up in the top 64, or like the top 8 of YCS Bologna, and we're gonna start with the Mermail deck. Julius Schwarzkopf's list played a couple cards that are not typically played in Mermail. One is Schiff, Fairy of the Goaty. So essentially, Mermail goes into Super Ancient Deep Sea King Coelacanth, which summons out a bunch of fishes from your deck. Schiff was the card of choice, the fish of choice for the top 8 deck. And basically this one is a level 2 tuner that can synchro summon on your opponent's turn as well. It's just a super rare from back in like Power the Elements or something like that. And essentially you're going to go into Schiff, and then later on you're going to go into Goaty of the Deep Beyond, which I think only has, well, I think it has 2 printings now. It has a secret and the Ultra, it was like the promo Ultra for that set, Power the Elements, I believe. So still not a lot of printings of this. Make sure you have this card if this is in your bulk. This was only like $2 I think before, and this one was probably not even $1, but people are going to want this card, especially because Mermail is a popular deck that people want to be picking up and want to play at the highest level and copy probably whatever the highest achieving Mermail player is doing. So definitely scoop up these Goaty cards, or make sure you have them in your binder. The next card is going to be Imseti, Glory of Horus. A Horus Orcus deck made top 8. So Horus really has done nothing for the last like year or so. But now all of a sudden it top 8 YCS with Orcus, right? Of all things. So not only your Horus cards, but also your Orcus cards, your Gearsus, your Harpors, all that stuff's been reprinted lately. But Imseti is the star of the show. It's still sitting at about $18 a copy, if I'm not mistaken, for the Megaton ones. So if you have any extra Horus cards, the player that topped with this deck played all of the it played Imseti, Daumatef, and Happy. So if you have any of those, and then they also played 3 of the Field Spell and 3 of the King Sarcophagus. So any of the Horus engine you have extra, chuck it in your binder or pick it up if you need it. But yeah, make sure you know this card was played. Let's look at some non-engine or side deck trends. We have Ciphering Gear Delta. This one is popping up in a lot of people's side decks, playing 1 Gamma and 2 to 3 Delta, and then a driver, of course, to side in for when you are going second, because stopping the Azamina stuff with Delta is really strong. Stopping anything with Gamma is really strong. Generally just good cards into a lot of matchups. So this came out as an OTS Super recently. Go through your OTS Supers. Make sure this isn't just sitting in your bulk rotting away. And chuck it in your binder if you have it. Another one is going to be Super Polymerization. This was a card, I don't think it's a surprise, that was very spicy going into the deck, into this event. But I want to note a particular Super Poly target, which is Chaos Star Source Dragon. This is just a common out of the most recent set, Rage of the Abyss, but I just want you to be aware that this Super Poly target exists. It takes 1 light or dark dragon monster plus 1 dragon monster. What this is used for is Centurion, because you want to be able to Super Poly away a Cosmic Blazar Dragon, and essentially a Centurion board will end on Centurion Auxilla plus a Blazar. And Auxilla is a dark dragon, and your Blazar is a wind dragon, so you can fuse those both off for Chaos. Blazar won't come back because it can't respond to Super Poly. So definitely just something to keep in mind. Like a trend that people are catching on to. Super Poly is a nice way to out a lot of stuff. And there were a lot of people with Super Poly in the main or in the side deck at this event. You can check out the video I just did of featuring all the coolest decks of the top 64 and a lot of them played Super Poly somewhere in their deck. So make sure you know that. One more card I want to feature in this video is Pot of Extravagance. Kashtira, Pure Kashtira topped the event, and Pure Kashtira used to run 3 Prosperity, but now Prosperity's at 1. So the player replaced it with Pot of Extrav. Kashtira is a fairly popular deck, so people might be looking for Pot of Extravagance to play that same list. So yeah, Extrav hasn't really done anything in the last several months at least. So if you have any extra of these guys, chuck them in your binder. I think people might be looking for these. And, you know, just be aware that it's a valid replacement for Pot of Prosperity in some decks. Alright? So yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know if I missed any cards specifically from Bologna that have been trending, that people have been asking about. Let me know in the comments below. And with that, we'll catch you guys in the next one. We'll see you soon.